My child, pause for a moment. The instant your eyes settled on these words, something around you began to shift, and somewhere deep inside you sensed it before you could explain it. That quiet stirring in your spirit, the breath you suddenly realized you had been holding, the gentle trembling beneath the surface of your heart. Those were not random feelings. That is me, drawing close to you with a seriousness you have not recognized in this way before. I need you to hear me without turning away, without letting doubt interrupt this moment, and without allowing distractions to carry your attention elsewhere, because what I am saying carries urgency. These are not casual words. For a long time I have spoken gently to your heart, but today my voice carries a different weight. Heaven has placed this message before you with purpose, with perfect timing, and with loving intention. I am asking you to open your heart to what I am saying because this is my final message to you in this season. Please do not brush it aside one more time. I am not speaking to frighten you. I am speaking because my love for you is too great to remain silent while you stand so close to something you cannot yet see. You have no idea how near you are to the clarity, the healing, and the answer you have quietly longed for, because your eyes cannot see everything that I see, and because you cannot yet perceive what is unfolding beyond what is visible. I am stepping into this moment with greater urgency. If you walk away now, if you set these words aside the way you have set aside other moments when I reached for you, or if you tell yourself you will come back later, you may overlook something meant to reshape the path before you. My child, I am speaking truthfully. There is something within this message that your spirit needs today, not tomorrow, not another time, but now. Even as you continue reading, something within you recognizes that this moment is different. There were times when my gentle whisper reached your heart, yet you were carrying too much to stop and listen. Life was heavy. You were busy, wounded, overwhelmed, uncertain, or afraid. I placed signs before you, and you wondered if they were only coincidences or passing emotions. More than once, you questioned whether it was really me speaking, when all along it was my hand reaching toward you. There were moments when you turned away from my warnings because you knew they would ask you to face something difficult or let go of something familiar. I allowed you to walk your path, and I remained beside you, patiently hoping you would notice that I had never stopped reaching for you. But this moment carries a different kind of weight. It stands where your past meets the future I have been leading you toward. It is the quiet breath just before the direction of your journey begins to change. That is why my voice comes to you with urgency. There is sorrow in it because I have seen the pain you have carried, and there is strength in it because I refuse to watch you return to another cycle of confusion when something greater is already before you. Understand this, my child. You did not arrive here by accident. You were not simply scrolling without purpose. Your spirit was gently led here, whether it was a quiet pull, an unexpected pause, a sudden curiosity, or a small voice inside urging you to stop. I was the one calling you. I brought you here because your heart has finally reached a place where it can receive what I have been placing before you for so long. Heaven has opened a precious window over your life, a moment that carries a timing unlike ordinary days. If you choose to walk away, that opportunity will not remain open forever. I am not threatening you. I am simply speaking a truth your spirit already recognizes. This is divine timing. This is heaven reaching into your moment. So let my hand rest over yours for just a moment. Stay here with me. Listen carefully. You have carried burdens that few people ever saw. You have walked through empty days and long nights that seemed to stretch without end. You have tried to stay strong while your heart quietly struggled beneath the surface. Questions have followed you. Fear has whispered against your path. Old wounds have continued to ache even after so much time had passed. I have watched every part of it, never from a distance, but close beside you. I was there through every tear, through every moment your heart felt ready to give way, and through every silent prayer you could barely put into words. I have strengthened you in ways you never realized and protected you from things you never knew were approaching. Yet despite my constant love, you often believed you were carrying everything alone. My child, you never were. There has never been a single breath, a single day, or a single season when my presence left your side, even when you could no longer feel it. Now I have come to you again, not as a quiet whisper that can easily be overlooked, but with a voice that asks you to stop and truly listen. Something within you has remained closed for far too long, and this moment carries the opportunity for that place to begin opening again. The direction of your steps can change from here. The patterns that have held you can begin to loosen. The confusion that has lingered for years can finally begin to clear, making room for the life I have always been leading you toward. Type, "Guide my steps, Lord," if you are placing your journey into His hands. That is why my words carry such urgency. That is why I am asking for your full attention. If your heart feels stirred, unsettled, comforted, or deeply moved as you read, there is a reason. Your spirit is recognizing my voice, even while your mind is still learning to understand what your heart has already begun to hear. Right now, your spirit recognizes my voice, even while your mind is still trying to understand what your heart already senses. You feel deeply seen in a way you cannot fully explain. You feel reached where you least expected it, and something within you is beginning to move, as though the very ground beneath your soul has quietly shifted. That is because heaven is breathing into your life at this very moment. My child, these are more than words on a page. This moment stands before you like a crossroads, a holy interruption placed in your path with such purpose that it would have found you wherever you tried to hide. Stay with me a little longer. Listen carefully. There is something here that matters for the road ahead, not because I am trying to frighten you, but because I love you enough to tell you the truth. When I call this my final message for this season, I am speaking about its importance, not the end of my voice. This is the final warning before the change begins, the last invitation before the door opens into what is ahead. I will not allow this moment to pass without making its meaning clear to you. Right now you are held, you are fully known, and you are seen by me. Now that your attention is settled, now that your spirit has become more aware of my presence, take a slow breath and remain here with me. What I am about to say reaches deeper than what you have heard before. I want my words to settle into the quiet places of your heart, because that is where this conversation truly belongs. My child, when I speak of a final message, I am not speaking of leaving you behind. I am not withdrawing my presence, nor am I withholding my love. I am speaking about a turning point within this season of your life, a moment where the direction you choose will shape what comes next. Final does not mean I am walking away. It means your response in this moment carries lasting significance. I have reached for you through quiet whispers, gentle reminders, small signs, and countless moments when I patiently waited for your heart to become still enough to recognize my voice. Yet this moment is unlike the others. Heaven has brought together a time that is both precious and purposeful for your journey, and your awareness of it matters more than you realize. My child, you have come to a place where the next step depends on recognizing my voice, trusting where I am leading you, and responding with an open heart. You are no longer standing in a season where I simply guide you without your awareness. You have arrived at a threshold that calls for your willingness, your trust, and your cooperation. That is why my words carry greater weight today. That is why my voice sounds firmer than before. You are standing where two paths meet. One leads toward healing, growth, clarity, purpose, and the life I have been preparing before you. The other returns you to the familiar patterns that exhausted your heart, the fears that held you back, the relationships that wounded you, and the delays that have already taken enough from your life. I am holding your hand, gently drawing you toward the path that brings life to your soul. Hear me clearly. If you choose to ignore my voice, my love for you will remain unchanged. But delay carries consequences of its own. It can lead to confusion that never needed to remain, and it can postpone blessings that were prepared for this appointed season. When I tell you not to wait until it is too late, I am revealing truth, not making a threat. Some blessings are received within their appointed time. Some opportunities appear when the heart is ready to receive them. Some doors open only within certain seasons, and some healing begins when surrender finally replaces resistance. There are breakthroughs that ask for your response, and when heaven brings every thread together at the right moment, that opening becomes deeply precious. If it is overlooked, it does not disappear forever. But what was meant to arrive with beauty and perfect timing may be delayed. Deep inside, you have already sensed some of this. There have been moments when something felt as though it was shifting, even though you could not explain why. Restlessness visited your heart without warning. Quiet pressure urged you forward. Memories returned, old wounds surfaced, hidden fears rose, forgotten hopes awakened, and questions filled your thoughts. Through it all, your spirit has been preparing for a transition, even when you could not recognize what was happening. Slowly, sometimes gently, and sometimes through pain, your heart has been making room for what I have desired to give you. That is why I call this a final message, not because my voice is ending, but because it comes after many quiet invitations that have led you to this moment of readiness. This is the final call before the path begins to change. This is the last whisper that now becomes a voice you cannot ignore. Every gentle invitation that came before has led to this moment, because this moment must reach your heart. If these messages have encouraged your faith and brought you closer to God, you can support this work through the support link or QR code provided in the description. Your generosity helps continue sharing messages of hope, peace, and devotion with others. You have asked me for clarity. You have asked me for signs. You have asked me to reveal myself to you. You have asked me to guide your steps and make your path clear. And I heard every one of those prayers. I saw the moments when confusion settled over your decisions, when fear caused you to hesitate, and when doubt quietly whispered that you were losing yourself. I saw your heart reaching for something steady, something true, something filled with love, purpose, and healing. I watched you search for answers on your own, because you did not yet know how to recognize mine. I saw you keep moving forward with courage, even while uncertainty trembled beneath every step you took. I watched your heart quietly break as you carried on through each day, doing your best to keep going. And I waited, not because I had forgotten you, but because I knew there would come a moment when your heart would become tender enough, open enough, and honest enough to truly hear my voice. That moment has brought you here. You are here because your suffering humbled your heart. You are here because your weariness stripped away the walls you had built. You are here because your longing for me became stronger than the distractions surrounding you. Your spirit reached a place where it could recognize my presence again, and heaven carefully arranged this moment so that these words would reach you. My child, I speak with both compassion and seriousness, because I see what is still hidden from your eyes. I can see the good that is drawing near, but I also see the things that would gladly pull you away from it. I can see the person you are becoming if you choose to walk with me, and I can also see how easily familiar patterns could keep you bound if you turn back instead of moving forward. I see opportunities beginning to take shape around you. I also see how quickly they can be overlooked if your heart closes again. I see the love I desire to bring into your life through new relationships and new seasons. Yet I also see the loneliness that lingers whenever you return to what has already wounded you. I see the clarity I long to place within your heart, and I also see the confusion that remains whenever you continue resisting the gentle leading of my spirit. I am not speaking to fill you with fear. I am showing you the cost of delay. When I call this a final message, I am not describing an ending, but extending one last invitation before this season begins to change. I am drawing closer, not stepping away. Yet I am also asking your heart to choose me fully, because the road ahead asks for surrender. The next chapter asks for your attention, and the season before you asks for your willing heart. You cannot move into what I am leading you toward while holding tightly to what wounded you. You cannot receive what I desire to place in your hands while refusing to release what I have been asking you to lay down. This moment is where your heart meets my invitation. You are more open than you have been in a long time. You are more aware, and you are more prepared than you realize. The pain you carried has softened your heart. Loss has taught you humility. Waiting has made you more attentive to my voice, and your tears have made your spirit more sensitive. Even your loneliness has drawn you back toward me. Everything you have walked through has brought you to this very moment. That is why my words carry compassion, because I know how deeply you have suffered. They carry seriousness, because I know how much this moment matters. They carry urgency, because I see what lies ahead. And above all, they carry love, because I desire to keep you from returning to another season of unnecessary delay and heartbreak. My child, take a slow breath. Let your heart become still. Let your spirit quietly receive what I am saying. Stay here with me for a moment, because I want to speak into the places within you that you rarely allow anyone else to see, the places hidden behind a steady expression and a weary smile. I know how tired you have become inside. I know how heavy your soul has felt and how long you have carried that weight alone. You have spent so much time trying to understand emotions that seemed to rise without warning, thoughts that circled without rest, and a longing for clarity that always seemed just beyond your reach. You have wondered why your heart could desire change while fearing it at the very same time. Confusion has settled over your life like a thick morning fog, making it difficult to trust your choices, your feelings, your instincts, and sometimes even my voice. Because the way ahead has seemed unclear, a quiet emptiness has settled within you. It is not loud or dramatic. It is simply a heaviness that makes each day feel slower, each step feel harder, and each hope feel more distant, as though something essential is missing, even though you cannot name what it is. You have grown weary from trying to repair yourself, trying to stay hopeful, trying to hold relationships together, trying to remain consistent, trying to appear strong, and trying to keep moving when your heart keeps pulling you backward. You have carried the burden of always being the dependable one, the thoughtful one, the forgiving one, and the strong one. I know how deeply that weariness reaches. You have also felt distant from me, not because your love for me disappeared, and not because you stopped seeking me, but because the weight you have carried has become so overwhelming that it has crowded everything else. You have wondered whether your prayers were reaching me. You have questioned whether I was listening, whether I was near, whether your faith was enough, and whether you had somehow disappointed me. My child, the distance you have felt is not proof that you have failed. It is the result of carrying burdens that became so heavy they dulled your ability to feel my nearness. Your heart has been weighed down for so long that even hope has sometimes seemed difficult to recognize. That is why your heart gradually became numb. It was never something you chose. It happened little by little as life continued placing more weight on your shoulders than your heart knew how to carry. There was no single day when everything changed. Instead, it happened quietly, one disappointment after another, one burden after another, until your heart learned how to protect itself, simply to survive. You stopped feeling things as deeply, not because you stopped caring, but because caring so deeply for so long left the tender places within you exhausted. You became quieter, not because nothing mattered anymore, but because everything mattered so much that your heart could no longer carry it all at once. What you called numbness was often your soul trying to endure what it had not yet found, the strength to heal. That numbness became a shelter while you were trying to survive emotions that felt too heavy to sort through. It was never the life I desired for you, but it became the place where you hid while your heart struggled to keep beating beneath the weight of everything it carried. Over time, you watched your motivation begin to fade. Things that once filled you with joy slowly lost their light, and the passion that once came naturally seemed to slip away beneath discouragement. Tasks that once felt simple suddenly felt overwhelming, and you blamed yourself for putting them off without realizing your soul had been carrying a burden far heavier than you understood. You mistook exhaustion for failure, when in truth your heart had simply been carrying too much for too long. You wondered why you could not stay inspired, why it felt so difficult to keep moving, and why even hope seemed to require more strength than you had left. You questioned yourself on days when simply getting through the day required quiet courage that no one else could see. Yet this was never simply a lack of effort. You had been running on empty for far too long, with little rest, little renewal, and almost no space for your heart to breathe. You kept pouring out what was left of yourself without realizing how desperately your own soul needed to be restored. Deep within you, your spirit has been quietly asking for what it truly needs. For Himble, for comfort, and for me. You have also carried the painful feeling of being unseen. It has seemed as though life continued moving around you while no one noticed the silent storms you were weathering inside. People often admired your strength without realizing how much that strength was costing you. The people closest to you often recognized your strength but overlooked the wounds that strength was covering. At times it felt as though your efforts passed unnoticed. Your tears remained unheard, and even the goodness of your heart went unseen. You learned how to keep smiling because it felt easier than explaining what your soul was carrying. There were moments when you felt forgotten, not because everyone abandoned you, but because the loneliness within you became louder than every reminder that you were loved. There were days when the silence around you seemed to confirm the fears already growing inside your heart. You wondered whether anyone truly understood the person hidden beneath the smile you wore each day. You questioned whether anyone saw how hard you were trying simply to keep going. That quiet feeling of invisibility slowly began to shape how you saw yourself, leaving you to question your worth, your purpose, and where you belonged. Little by little, you began believing that if your pain was unseen, perhaps you were unseen as well. All of this gradually stole your sense of direction. You felt as though you were walking without a clear path, moving through life while somehow remaining in the same place. Each step forward seemed to be followed by another wave of uncertainty. Your dreams seemed farther away than they once were. Your future became difficult to picture, and you struggled to understand who you were becoming. Whenever clarity seemed close, doubt returned. Whenever hope began to rise, disappointment tried to silence it once again. It became difficult to trust your own heart because disappointment had spoken so loudly for so long. My beloved child, hear me carefully. You are not lost because you have failed. You feel lost because wounds have clouded the way before you. Pain has a way of making familiar paths look unfamiliar, but that does not mean I have stopped leading you. Through every one of those moments I remained near. When you cried in silence, I was there beside you. When your tears fell where no one else could see them, my hand rested gently upon your heart, and not one of them escaped my notice. Before you ever wondered where I was already sitting with you in that place of sorrow. When you felt as though you were falling apart, I was quietly holding together the places within you that seemed ready to break. Even when my presence felt distant, my hands never left you. My silence was never my absence. When your strength was giving way beneath burdens you tried to carry alone, I was strengthening the parts of you that had grown weary. When confusion filled your thoughts, I continued whispering guidance into your spirit, even when your mind was too overwhelmed to recognize my voice. I never stopped walking beside you, even during the days when you believed you were walking by yourself. When you felt empty, I was already planting seeds within you, seeds of hope, healing, identity, and purpose that continued growing beneath the surface, even during seasons when it seemed nothing was changing. Seeds often grow in places the eye cannot yet see, and so was my work within you. When you became tired of trying, I remained beside you. I was not demanding more from you or urging you to move faster. I simply stayed with you, allowing my presence to become the quiet strength you did not realize was sustaining you, so you would never carry that weight alone. Say, I'm walking boldly in my calling if you are embracing the assignment God has placed before you. My child, hear me today. I want you to hear me today. Every silent take care of and take care of impossible in the darkness. I saw the moments when you quickly wiped your face before anyone could notice you had been crying. I heard the thoughts you never spoke aloud, the fears you hid behind your strength, and the loneliness you carried without telling anyone. I saw every disappointment that settled quietly into your heart after another setback. I saw the quiet bravery it took simply to get up and keep going when everything inside you wanted to stop. I watched the battle that no one else knew you were fighting, and I saw a courage within you that you still struggle to recognize. You often measured yourself by your weakness, while I saw the perseverance that kept you moving one step at a time. Through every moment of doubt, through every question about whether I was still near, I never once left your side. Even when you could not feel me, I was closer than your own heartbeat. I remained faithful long before your feelings could recognize my presence again. My tenderness toward you has never been weakness. It is steadfast, protective, and unwavering. It is the love of a father who understands every hidden wound without turning away. I have looked upon your hidden struggles with compassion rather than criticism, your weariness with love rather than judgment, your tears with care rather than disappointment, your numbness with understanding rather than frustration, and your confusion with patience rather than anger. I have never been impatient with the pace of your healing, because I have always known the weight of what you have carried. I have walked beside you through every season, every storm, every heartbreak, and every fear. I have never let go of you. Though you believed you were alone, you never truly were. Though you felt unsupported, I carried you through moments that would have been too heavy for you to bear alone. Though you felt unseen, I watched over every detail of your life with a love far deeper than you have ever imagined. Though you felt forgotten, my heart never lost sight of you for even a single moment, and my love never stopped calling your name. My child, I have engraved your name upon my heart. You have never been a passing thought to me, and there has never been a day when I have forgotten you. I know how tired you are. I know how much you have endured, and I know how much pain you have carried in silence, even when no one else realized how heavy it had become. I have seen the moments when you smiled simply because you did not want anyone to worry, while inside you wondered how much longer you could keep going. The weariness you feel is not proof that you are weak. It is the evidence of a heart that has been fighting battles far too heavy to carry alone for far too long. That is why I am asking you now to place those burdens into my hands. You do not have to remain lost. You do not have to remain numb. You do not have to keep pretending that everything is fine just to convince yourself that you are holding together. I am here. I have always been here, and I will remain here until every weary place within your heart discovers rest again. Stay with me for a moment, my child. There is no need to rush through these words. Let them settle gently over your heart as I speak into the deepest places of your memory, into the quiet rooms where pain has rested like dust upon forgotten shelves. Those places you rarely visit because remembering feels too costly. I have seen everything you carried and everything you tried so hard to hide. I saw every heartbreak you lived through, every time love slipped from your hands even though you offered it with sincerity and without reservation. I saw the moments when someone you trusted shattered something inside you that you could not even find words to explain. I watched you smile while your heart was breaking. I saw you laugh through pain, hoping that if you acted strong long enough, your heart might eventually believe it. I heard the conversations you had with yourself late at night, wondering whether healing would ever truly come. None of your heartbreak was hidden from me. I stood beside you through every moment, even when you believed you were facing it completely alone. I saw every betrayal, including the quiet ones that left the deepest scars, because they arrived without warning. I saw the friends you trusted disappear when you needed them most. I saw promises that were broken, words that wounded more deeply than anyone realized, and loyalty that was never returned. I want you to hear me have shifted, not because your solve taught you to guard your heart, to hesitate before trusting again, and to question whether genuine love could truly remain. I saw the cautious way you began protecting yourself, fearing that opening your heart would only lead to more disappointment. I held you through every tear, not only because you felt abandoned, but because you wondered if believing in people had somehow made you foolish. Yet your willingness to love was never your weakness. It revealed the beauty I placed within your heart from the very beginning. I also saw every disappointment that quietly settled into your spirit. I saw the hopes that never unfolded the way you expected, the opportunities that slipped away just as you reached for them, and the seasons when you poured yourself out yet seemed to receive so little in return. I know how discouraging it felt to keep giving your best while wondering why so little appeared to change. Disappointment gathered little by little until it became a weight you carried without realizing how deeply it was shaping the way you saw yourself. You blamed yourself for outcomes that were never yours to control. You questioned your abilities when often it was timing, not your worth, that determined the outcome. Too often you allowed disappointment to define your value, when in truth it was simply part of a path you were never meant to continue walking. What you believed was rejection was often protection that you could not yet understand. I saw every tear you cried in secret. I saw the tears that fell in the middle of the night when the world was asleep, and your strength finally gave way. I saw the tears you quickly wiped away before anyone could notice, and the ones you swallowed during the day because you believed you had to stay strong for everyone else. I counted every one of them. Before they reached the ground, they were already known to me. There has never been a single tear that escaped my attention, or a single sigh that went unheard. When grief tightened your chest and loneliness surrounded you, I remained beside you, listening to every trembling breath, every silent sob, and every whispered cry for help that you believed no one heard. Even when all you could do was sit in silence, I was sitting there with you. I heard every prayer you offered, even the ones that barely sounded like prayers. I heard the broken sentences, the trembling words, the frustrated questions, and the exhausted whispers that came when you no longer understood what I was doing. I heard the prayers you spoke out of habit when your faith felt weak, and I heard the prayers you could never fully express because the pain within you had become too deep for language. I understood the prayers hidden inside your tears before you ever found the words to speak them. Your longing spoke to me. Your silence spoke to me. Even the moments when all you could offer was a weary sigh reached my heart. Every cry of your soul was heard, and not one of them was forgotten. I saw those nights when you buried your face in your pillow so no one would hear you cry. I saw you cover your mouth to keep your sobs from escaping, because you did not want anyone to know how overwhelmed you had become. I saw you stare into the darkness with tears quietly running down your face, because your heart felt too full of sorrow to carry another moment. I watched you curl into yourself, wishing you could disappear beneath the weight of everything pressing against you. I saw the exhaustion shaking your body after days of pretending you were stronger than you felt. I heard you telling yourself that you had no right to fall apart, that other people had it worse, that somehow you should have been able to carry more. Yet you did fall apart, and I never left you. Not one tear, not one breath, not one trembling moment escaped my loving attention. I remained beside you, patiently holding what you no longer had the strength to carry. I also saw the wounds that began long before you understood how to name them. I remember the child who felt unseen, misunderstood, unwanted, or unloved. I remember the words spoken over you that quietly shaped the way you would one day see yourself. I remember the loneliness you carried before you even knew what loneliness was. I saw the belief growing inside you that love had to be earned, that your worth had to be proven, and that parts of yourself needed to stay hidden to be accepted. Those beliefs followed you into places where they never belonged, quietly influencing the way you loved, trusted, and even looked at yourself. Those wounds were never invisible to me. I held you then, and I still hold you now. Even today I continue bringing healing into the places that have carried those hurts in silence, patiently restoring what pain tried to redefine. I saw the pain left by relationships you believed would be safe. I saw people walk away without explanation. I saw others take advantage of your kindness, promise, consistency, but leave you with uncertainty, receive your loyalty without returning it, and take far more than they ever gave. I know how those experiences made you question your value and wonder whether you were somehow unworthy of lasting love. I know how difficult it became to believe that someone could remain when so many others had left. Hear me clearly, my child. Those wounds never revealed your worth. They revealed the brokenness of those who wounded you. Their inability to love you well was never a measure of your value in my eyes. I also saw the failures that continue to haunt your thoughts, the dreams that fell apart, the goals you never reached, the attempts that ended in disappointment, and the mistakes you made while simply trying to survive. I saw how easily you replayed those moments, convincing yourself they defined who you were instead of recognizing them as moments you walked through. You have continued punishing yourself for things I have already forgiven. You allowed those failures to shape your identity, whispering that you were not capable, not strong enough, not wise enough, and not worthy enough. Yet I saw something entirely different. I saw your courage every time you chose to try again after disappointment. I saw the hope you refused to completely let go of, even when it flickered only faintly. I saw the strength it took to rise after every fall, especially on the days when no one else noticed the effort it required just to keep moving. I never measured you by the moments you stumbled. I honored the faith it took for you to stand again, to believe again, and to keep placing one step in front of the other. If the Lord has remained your constant companion through every season, share this message with someone who may need the same reminder today. Sometimes the encouragement that strengthens another heart begins with a simple act of sharing the hope you have just received.